Yes, welcome everyone here to the Smash Evening Show right here on Smash FM here on a Saturday afternoon here in Melbourne. Of course, let's go to our friends over in the US. And of course, they're not quite on the, well, actually, they just hit the weekend over there. Of course, it is Friday night over in the City of Angels. They're in Los Angeles, California. And of course, being with our favorite music artist. It's been a long, long time since we've last had her on the show and last got to catch up with this amazing artist. Because the last time we had on the show, she was in Tampa in Florida. Now she's over in the other side of the states in Los Angeles, because her name is Sara Benyo. She joins us right now. Thanks, Sarah, for joining us.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. Good to talk again.
No worries. Well, the last time we had you on the show was very early last year, before the pandemic. And tell us about the year and a half since we last had you in the show, which you've been here, there, and everywhere, and now you've ended up on the other side of the States.
I know, honestly, the irony of doing that during a pandemic, I'm like, don't cancel me. Yeah, it's like, oh my gosh, dude, where do we even begin with like 2020 though? You know, it's like the world has been such a mess, and it's like so much has changed, but it's also like we've also been kind of stuck doing nothing. So it's kind of like give and take. But yeah, I was living in Florida, doing the thing there. Like I was just telling you, and for anybody who doesn't know, I'm originally from Nashville, Tennessee. But in 2020, my significant other and I decided to pack up and move to Tampa. We're both musicians, and he got a job opportunity at a studio there, and we said, why not? We both do EDM as well. And so the scene there is really awesome. So we decided to live there, and this was January. So before everything shut down, we didn't know we were going to move, like quite literally, and everything shut down. So that was really crazy, because it wasn't even like a month and a half of us being there. And then things shut down, and we like came back home to like Tennessee and just like locked down for 2 months. And so when we came back, like after 2 months, because we're like, we have to work and make money, we came back in our apartment in Tampa, and we're like, did we even move? Like, we haven't even like been here for a month and a half, like when we like lived there. So it's like we had been back home longer than like our lease, you know, of us being actually in Florida. So that was a really weird thing. But yeah, let's see. It was like a blessing and a curse, kind of living in Florida, because obviously everybody hates Florida. But yeah, it is the butt of the United States currently. Nobody likes it for good reasons. But it was like also a blessing for us, because the reason we moved was to take jobs. So it was a blessing to have financial stability during a time where a lot of people didn't. And for that, I'm really grateful. So yeah, let me think about what else. So got some opportunities towards the fall of 2020 to move to LA. Like I was telling you, we actually manifested living in LA, because like we both have always wanted to live here. But we didn't think it would happen this fast. We thought it'd take a few more years of grinding. But in the beginning of our lease, like living in Florida, I was like, what if we just like hopped from Tampa to LA? Like, what if we just got to do that? Like, that would be the dream, like Nashville, Tampa, do the LA thing. And then when we're ready to settle down, we can go back to Nashville. And we're like, yeah, like that would be awesome. Like, how do we do that? And literally it happened. We were like, oh my God, like this is so cool. So yeah, halfway through our lease, we were like, okay, Florida is cool, but we just had, you know, so many expectations about living there, and we weren't able to do half the things that we wanted to, because we like, despite like what the media shows, like a lot of things were actually shut down, and a lot of shows weren't happening, and you know, if they were, we weren't going to partake in them. So we didn't get to like do the things we wanted to do living there anyways. But there was a lot of reasons why we decided it wasn't the vibe for us. So it was really cool when we saw that door shutting, like immediately the door to LA opened. And so he got an opportunity. My boyfriend got an opportunity out here and has his own studio now. And then I wanted to always live here for music ever since I was like 13. And my jobs happened to transfer. So it was just like a really huge blessing. The stars just aligned and we packed up and moved right after Christmas. So here we are.
So since you've moved to, the entertainment hub in Los Angeles, what have you been doing for like 7 months over there? Have you done any gigs? Have you done any performances?
A little bit. It was definitely like 180 moving here because we were going from the most open state to like pretty much the most closed state. So we moved here literally the beginning of January of 2021. And so things have been pretty shut down here until recently. Like I think in June is when things started to open up more. So haven't been able to play like a ton of shows, but I have played just like a few. So that's been really cool. But yeah, we have both been grinding. I have like written more songs living here. I don't know if it's just something in the air. It's all that smog that makes us all crazy and have inspiration. No. But I have really just, I don't know. It was like when I moved here, it was just like a light bulb. Everything I had been like, I don't know, I was feeling really stagnant the past few years and I was going through a lot of healing on my own journey and self-realization. And when I moved here, I don't know, it's just like everything just kind of like synced and made sense. And I've just written song after song. I just released a few songs that I had been finishing up while I was here too. But yeah, really just staying with things closed, really staying locked in and writing a lot of music mainly. And making sure we pay rent because it's expensive here. Yeah. Making sure we like don't become homeless, which we're like super excited because like the statistic is like people who move to LA like within 6 months they leave, and we're like past that mark now. So I'm like, let's go. Like I have like beat the stats, so I'm feeling really good.
So you mentioned you've written some songs already. When are we hoping to hear them?
Well, the two I just released, so you can hear those. I just released this song called "The Beginning" with Burn Ezekiel. He's actually from Tampa, and that's where I met him. And that song I actually wrote in quarantine when we were like locked down in the middle of nowhere in Tennessee. So that one actually finally just came out, and it's on all the streaming platforms. And then this past week, I released a song with my friend Yezi called "Too Late," and you can check that one out on all the platforms as well.
So, because you just mentioned those two, can you tell us just briefly what those two songs are about?
Yeah, so the song with Burn Ezekiel, he originally was going to put it on an EP, and that was going to be the first song he had on the EP. So sometimes when producers send me songs, they'll either just have the title blank, or they might have just like a fill-in name. And he had the fill-in name "The Beginning," but I really liked that. So I really just kind of like used that phrasing and like fit the vibe, and the whole lyrics are just basically like it's only the beginning, because I kind of wanted it to be this like epic cinematic moment into the beginning of his album. It ended up being released as a single, still super dope as a standalone track. But yeah, it's a hard dubstep song. So that one doesn't have like a ton of like, cryptic meaning behind it. But the song with Yezi, "Too Late," that one actually comes from a more like vulnerable, like personal like experience. I wrote that actually on like a 14-hour drive from Tampa to Nashville last fall. Yeah. So one of my like favorite places actually is to write in the car. Like, I don't know if it's just because like I don't know. I just like I'm inspired in the car. I've always been like that, even as a kid. I would always like want to sing songs to my mom in the car and make up songs when we're driving. Like there's literally recordings of me and like, hey mom, can I sing you a song? And like she'd be like, okay, like what do you want to sing? And I'd be like, I'm sitting in the car and I don't know why. Like it was like me as like a 5-year-old. So here I am, I'm 24, still vibing. But yeah, that one was kind of like about the processing of like, when you have a breakup with somebody, like healing's not linear. So you're like lows and then highs, and then you think you're doing good. And then all of a sudden all the feelings come rushing back of like, well, what if, or like, what if things could have been different, but it's like, it's too late, like that chapter is closed. Like things were toxic. It's about a toxic relationship ending. And even though there's so much love there, like, it's like not good for you and it's breaking, your heart and their heart, but it's like this has got to end. Like it's too late. We can't question this anymore. You're not good for me. Like, so it's really like that goodbye and like separating of two individuals. So yeah, Yezi had just sent me that track, and I was listening and I was driving alone, listening to it in my car, and I just like the inspiration just came to me immediately because I really write on the emotion of like the instrumental. And that's just immediately what I wanted to write about. The chords and stuff he used sound really sad. And we keep calling it our sad boy, sad girl track. It's like, and it was like the fall too. So it's like all angsty and stuff in the United States. Like, I don't know, there's so much like angst and like when the leaves are changing and it's cold outside. So yeah, that's what that song is about.
Now, I know you mentioned that you fulfilled one of your dreams, which is obviously moving to LA, which you've done. I'm assuming that's now ticked off your checklist. Now, your other dream is when we last had you in the show, is obviously touring overseas, but especially down here in Australia. Now, obviously, we've already discussed this before we came on. You're, as I said, you're moving closer to Australia.
Yes.
You cut it by about 4 hours, 4 or 5 hour flights. When are we hoping to hopefully see you here in the land down under?
Well, hopefully when things get a little less crazy with the world. I'm still getting like stable over here in LA. Like I said, it's expensive, doing good, but need a little bit more stability under my feet and in the world, honestly. Like, but I'm gonna say right now within a year, I'm gonna just speak that into existence. So hey, it worked for LA. I'm gonna say it right now. I'll be in Australia within a year. So
all right, so somewhere in 2022 by the sounds of that. So
yeah, hopefully things will be better then. Yeah.
we'll hold you to that. So
Yeah. Don't like come for me. I'm gonna hide. Just pull my beanie over my eyes. Be like, I don't remember saying that. Cut that part out.
Well, for everyone that missed out on their previous interviews the last couple of years, I have to ask, when did you start get involved in music and why did you choose it? I know you said a little bit before about singing in the car on those car trips, but when was it officially that you thought this is the road that I need to get to?
Gosh, it was something like I've always innately known since I was a little girl. I grew up with a musical family. Both of my parents are musicians. My mom's a singer and a songwriter. My dad is extremely creative, has a music store, tunes pianos, creates music all the time, a guitar player. So I grew up with like a very musical household, and that was always something that was around me. Would go at my dad's store when I was a kid and be playing on the banjos and the little instruments. Like it was just in my environment, plus just like, who I was. I don't know, I could always knew. But let's see, there's two like defining moments really. The first one was when my cousin, when I was like probably 4 or 5, showed me Britney Spears. And I was like, she is so cool. Like we would like share headphones with a CD player, and I was just obsessed with her. Like I wanted to be her. I dressed up for her for Halloween. Also, Free Britney. I don't know if you guys are paying attention to that right now, but she's going through it, and free Britney. But yeah, my parents, like, I begged for her albums, and like they gave them to me as a kid, like without her like album artwork, because they're like, it's too risque for you to have as a child. Like, you can have her CD, but you can't have the album cover of her dressed like this. So that was like, I just have to say that because it's so funny. So really, like, seeing her as a pop star as a kid was like, so I don't know, I just was so awestruck by that idea. And then the second, like, really pivotal moment where I was like, okay, this is what I want to do, was when I was about 12 or 13. I grew up playing piano my whole life, grew up in lessons my whole life, but I was in a period of where I was feeling uninspired when I was about 11, and was taking a hiatus from lessons, had some discouraging moments with teachers that, weren't like, I guess, praising my like creativity, or like weren't really responsible, and it kind of burned me out. But then Lady Gaga started getting popular when I was about 11. And of course, like, I loved her music, but what really did it for me is when I was in middle school, I was just on YouTube and listening to her music, and I found this video of her stripped down playing at NYU, just her singing and playing piano. And I was like, oh my God, like, she's this pop star, but she's this, like, she plays piano and she sings and she writes her own music. Like, that was like the moment I knew I wanted to do this, was seeing this star who had amazing music, but just seeing her in that like raw element. I don't know, something about that was just like, this is what I want to do. It was like everything I was looking for to bring music back into like my soul again. And so ever since then, it's been, no really stopping. I've known that literally since I've, again, was 13, wanted to move to LA and be here. I wanted to do music.
Now, what will be some highlights throughout your music journey so far?
Well, moving to LA is a really big one. Honestly, like I said, I've been trying to get here for 10 years. And so being in the place where so many dreams are made, and where all the iconic artists are, and where everything's happening, like, that is like probably the most important thing to me right now. And like I said, it's really opened so many doors already. And I've only been here for 7 months, and I've completed more songs than I have, in the past few years, and some like pretty big ones actually that I can't talk about that I'm really excited about. Yeah, so that's been a really big highlight.
Now, what does the music scene mean to you now?
It's bittersweet. The music part of it is like everything. The industry part of it sucks. like to be frank, the industry is not nice. But on the flip side of that, like, some of my best friends have come from the music industry, and I am so grateful to like have met so many like lifelong, friends, and I met my partner through music. So it's really, it's a part of my life, and I've, again, have met so many important people through music. So that's really great. But it's a double-edged sword. You have to protect your energy, and I've learned that very quickly, especially living in LA. Not everybody is like got that Southern hospitality. Growing up in Nashville, like, I came here and being like, hey everybody, and everybody's like, what the heck is wrong with you? Why are you smiling? And I'm like, okay, like, I'm not trying to die today. So yeah, it's ever changing. I'm always learning, but it's a blessing, and it can also be a snake if you are naive. So yeah.
So while you're in LA, any future ambitions in music?
Yeah, so currently really just working on growing my artist project. I'm continuing to do bigger and bigger collaborations. So a goal of mine is to keep working on doing vocals for other producers, and eventually, keep working with bigger and bigger producers. And then with that, I've kind of taken a hiatus from like releasing like my own like original music, but I feel like very soon I'm going to start releasing like just like Sara Benyo tracks. So that's another goal. And then, yeah, with hopefully COVID like getting better and things kind of loosening up, playing, you know, some shows in LA, some of like the biggest like, you know, promotion companies, if I'm saying that right, like Space Yacht and Brownies and Lemonator here, which are really big for the EDM scene. Would love to like get connected with them. And yeah, just continuing to be on a positive trajectory and going up and doing bigger and bigger things. Yeah, I'm actually looking into that actually right now for the fall, maybe in some East Coast cities, but we'll see.
Be your advice to people out there that should get involved in music?
Don't let anything stop you. You can do anything you put your mind to. It's all about your mindset. If you want it, no matter how much you have or how little you have, you can always make do with that. You really don't have to have tons of money if you have the heart. I've heard songs by people that have been created on GarageBand that are way better than, you know, a ton of songs that I've heard people create on something like Ableton. You know, it's really your heart and your creativity and your passion. And I think if you have all of those things and you really want it, you should go for it and not let anything stop you.
For everyone that should follow you on the socials and obviously for the music channels, their streaming services, how can they go about following your music and obviously follow you on social media?
So my name is Sara Benyo, so it's SARABENYO. And if you look me up, I am a pretty rare breed, so you should be able to find me. Not a lot of people with my last name. So a simple Google search will have me on the front page. But yeah, I have Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, Twitter, like literally everything if you just type in my name. But if you happen to find my Instagram or my Twitter, I have like a link that has all my social media profiles in that specific link. So
I always ask this question when we have music guests on the show. Have you ever forgotten a lyric to a song, and how have you tried to cover it up?
So I have two answers for that. So the first answer is when I'm recording in a studio, because it's just like ends up me cussing, which like I was recording a song like last week, and my partner records my vocals. I was in his studio, and he had his like two assistants and interns like in there, and I felt so bad because I was just like messed up a lyric, and I was like cussing, and I was like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. Like, so it's pretty funny. Like, I wish people like knew what the takes outside of like the professional takes sounded like, because they are like what artists say if they mess up is like hilarious. So funny. So pretty comical in that sense. Usually ends up with me being really ridiculous. Live though, it's like you fake it till you make it. You just go with it, because 99% like of the time the audience isn't gonna know. So if you just act like you know what you're doing, then you're probably golden.
Do you have a pre-performance, either in the studio or live, when you get to do it with your amazing fans? Do you have like a pre-performance superstition or ritual?
Yes, I am spiritual, so I pray to God. I definitely try to be very thankful and just always express my gratitude, and I always want to be a light in the world and positively impact people, so I really try to keep that at the forefront of my heart, and stay humble. I wouldn't call it like a ritual though. It's just like something that it's just who I am. But yeah, I try to, before I perform or before I record, I try to do warm-ups and warm up my voice too, and drink gallons of water, on a less serious note. And yeah, try to really get in a positive mindset, because one of the things I learned from my vocal teacher is like singing is like 80% like psychological. So really getting your mentality right and your vibes right is something that I really try to do before performing or recording.
Now, of course, it'd be miss me to ask this last one, which is, when we came out to Nashville 3 years ago now, it's been a long time ago since we.
I know, it's so crazy.
How special was it to have an Australian, fan, and obviously from a radio station to catch up with you? How special was that?
Honestly, so amazing. Like, I am still so just like in awe that like you even found me. Like, I don't even know how you did, honestly, at first, but it's been so cool. And I love being able to tell people that. They're like, wow, like an Australian radio station. Like, and I get to tell them about you guys. It's like, it's such a blessing, and I'm so grateful for it. So thank you guys so much for this opportunity and thinking so much of me. It really means a lot. I love you guys.
Well, we definitely love you, Sarah, and we love what you're doing at the moment. And great to see you move a little bit closer to Australia. We haven't got
We're on
you
the
away
right
from the
track.
US just yet, but we're getting closer.
Yes, Australian Performance 2022.
Yeah,
It's gonna happen.
but thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully we'll get to have another chat with you. Hopefully not this long between our last interviews, and hopefully we'll get you back on the show hopefully a little bit later on in the year.
Yes. Let's try to make it like not a year in between next time.
And thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me.
No worries. And that's Sara Benyo there, because if you want to check out her two new release that she mentioned before, because you can check that out on your favorite music downloading services, as well as, of course, you can check it out on her social media. Of course, we'll put all those details up on our social media as well. There's more on the Smash Evening Show right after this. Don't go away here on the Saturday edition.